This is a crisis of unprecedented proportions. We have the lowest amount of cattle in 63 years, and we also have bumper crops for grain. Normally that's good for beef prices. Now it's a catastrophe because we only have 70 million head of cattle, and with drought conditions, Australia, Brazil, all the other producing nations you referenced, we are going to have the highest beef prices in history and the highest shortages in history, and the consumer who's living 70% paycheck to paycheck is going to get crushed.
Climate seems to be a big part of this issue. With that situation only getting worse, what can we expect in the future when it comes to beef prices and availability?
The climate, whether it's La Nina or El Nino weather patterns, the drought monitor is the worst in recorded history in terms of the lowest water tables, the lowest grazing land for cattle and livestock, and the lowest area for feeding and fattening livestock. So with the drought monitor to your pressure point, the inventory on livestock is low, the inventory on grassland is low, and the inventory on water is even lower. And again, another crisis of unprecedented proportions that neither the last U.S. administration nor the current U.S. administration is doing sufficient corrective action to address. And as the president of the People's Republic of China said in the beginning of the show, it's a win-win. And a win-win is China, United States, to solve the problems in terms of irrigation, grassland, trade, tariffs, and not this John Wayne Western showdown at Main Street over tariffs. This is a food crisis that the world's never seen before, and it has to be addressed during this crop year, and this crop year only has a month and a half left to go.
Well, President Trump ran in part on the promise of bringing down the cost of groceries, right? So does this show just how difficult it is to control because all of this volatile pricing, and just how does his push to export more beef to other countries further impact all of this supply and pricing?
Export more beef can be helpful, but again, according to the University of Arkansas data, which is rock solid in terms of accuracy, there are more farms, family-owned and operated farms, filing for bankruptcy in the first 90 days of this year than in the entire calendar year last year of 2024, which was a record for family bankruptcies. So the administration's taking corrective action, but it's too late, just like the prior administration's corrective action is too late. And yes, send rice to China, send peaches to Mexico, but preserve the herds and correct the water problem, correct the screwworm problem, which is one of the greatest emerging crises coming around the corner that the Americas and the Western Hemisphere has ever seen. And the Department of Agriculture needs to get in high gear rather than in second and third gear. And I teach as an executive lecturer at Cornell College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and the Cornell president and board in the Life Sciences Department in the university is doing next to nothing to take corrective action. And with the exception of Beth Ford's Iowa State University, and with the exception of Michigan and Wisconsin Department of Ags, and UCal Davis, the ag colleges of which President Abraham Lincoln put in each of the 50 states are doing next to nothing while this crisis is unfolding before our eyes. And we could have a dust bowl like the Great Depression of John Steinbeck in the 1930s unless President Xi's win-win policy for China and the Americas takes place very, very quickly.
All right, we will have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your perspective, Burt Flickinger.
Thank you.